Okay, class. So today we're going over in Module 9.5. It's called Properties and Conditions for Kites and Trapezoids. So the objective is students will discover the side and angle properties for kites and trapezoids. In example 1, we're going to go over some properties of kites. So first property here, it has two pairs of consecutive congruent sides. Okay, consecutive means they're side by side, so it'd be these two sides here are congruent. Mainly because it has this mark right there. It also means that these other two sides over here are also congruent. And again, you can see that by the mark they have. They have the two two side marks right there. It also has one pair of opposite congruent angles. That just means that the pair of angles, there's only one pair that's congruent, which is like this pair right here. So they both have one angle mark. And the other two over here just has two angle marks. So it's a different angle. And this has three angle marks. 1, 2, and then 3. Also says diagonals are perpendicular. So it's these lines in the middle, they form a 90-degree angle on all corners. So right there, all of these are all 90-degree. Okay. And then it says only one diagonal is bisected. So that means that if you look right here, the three marks, and the three marks right there means that those two halves are equal to each other, congruent. Okay, next item, example 2, properties of a trapezoid. So see there's a trapezoid, so it has two parts. It has your base, two bases, and those are opposite each other. And it has the two legs, which are also opposite each other. Right there. So first thing it says, the bases are parallel. So you remember the word parallel, and they're not congruent. And you remember the parallel means these little arrows right there. You know, these little arrows here mean parallel. Okay. And it says opposite legs are not parallel and they're not congruent. So these two legs here, they're not parallel, not congruent. So that's what a trapezoid is. Okay, next one's an isosceles trapezoid. So this one's still a trapezoid, but it has a few more properties to it. So again, it still has a base here, and then your two legs. Okay, and one more thing here. Okay, these should be arrows like that. Okay, so it says again the bases are parallel and not congruent. So they'll have the arrow marks there showing that they're parallel. And it says the opposite legs are not parallel and congruent. So the legs are not parallel, but they are congruent. So they'll have the one side mark there. And base angles are congruent. So what this means is that these two angles here are congruent to each other. And then these two angles here are also congruent to each other. Okay, so now let's use a few properties of kites first. So here they give you this kite and they use information here. So they tell you that in kite ABCD, is this angle BAE is 32 degrees. So BAE is this angle right here, and that's 32 degrees. So it also tells you that angle BCE is 62 degrees. So BCE is this angle right here, and that's 62 degrees. So what we're trying to solve for is angle CBE. So CBE is here CBE, which is this angle right here. So we're trying to solve for that. So one thing about kites is, remember, in these corners, it makes 90-degree angles. So you want to put your 90-degree angle here, all four corners. Okay. All right, so now to solve for that angle, what we do here is we just take CBE plus 90 plus 62 should all add up to 180 degrees. So if we just add up 90 and 62, it gives us 152. We subtract 152, and that gives us 28 degrees. Okay, so that just means that 28 degrees here will go in that angle right there. Okay, so next thing, example 5. So we're still using the same diagram. So again, remember we still had angle BAE was 32, which is right here. And then we had angle BCE, which is right here. So those are given to us. And then we also had, remember that angle was 28 degrees from the previous one, which is right here. Okay, now we want to solve for angle ABC. So angle ABC is this big angle right here. So that whole thing right there. And remember, we still have these angles in here are still 90. Okay. So what we need to solve for is this angle right here, which you don't know what it is yet. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say angle ABE plus 90 plus 32 equals 180. And I add 90 and 32 gives us 122. I subtract that from 180 and I get 58. So it means that this angle right here is 58 degrees. So now in order to solve for ABC, I just take 58 plus 28. So that gives me 86 degrees. Okay, example 6. Again, using properties of trapezoids. So this is an isosceles trapezoid. Okay. So they give us AC is 13. So AC is this whole thing right here. And also tell us that BE is 8. So BE is right here. So we put those values in. That's 8. And this whole thing is 13. Now I'm going to solve for DE. So DE is this part right here. Okay. So one thing about the trapezoid is that these two segments are congruent. So that's 8. So we're going to say this here. Write this down. So we're going to say that AC is congruent to BD. So this part here is 8, this half is 8, this half is also 8, which means that this whole thing is also 13. Okay, so to solve for DE, I know BD, the whole segment is made up of BE and ED. So I say I put 13, which is BD, equals 8 plus DE, and I just subtract 8 from 13. So I say DE is 5. Okay, example 7. So here again, using properties of trapezoids, solve for the value of x. So what we have here is an isosceles trapezoid. So mark that right there. Okay, so in an isosceles trapezoid, the angles are congruent. So that means this angle and this angle are congruent to each other. So what I do there, I just set them equal to each other. So 2x squared plus 21 equals 3x squared minus 4. Okay, so now I'm going to subtract 2x squared from here. Remember, those go away. I subtract 2 from here. So that's how I get just x squared. And I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So I get x squared equals 25. Then I take the square root of both sides. So I end up getting x equals 5. Okay, and our example 8. So we're going to solve for the value of r. Okay, so here again, this is a isosceles trapezoid. So I know these two angles are congruent. So that means that if that's 77, that's also 77. And I know that these two are congruent to themselves as well, using the properties of isosceles trapezoids. That means that since we don't know what these are, I'm just going to call them both x. Okay, so to get the angles of a quadrilateral or trapezoid, remember this is where we use n minus 2 times 180. And remember this is going to be 4 minus 2 times 180. So that gives me 2 times 180, which is 360 degrees. Okay, so what I do now is I just take all four angles, add them up, equal to 360. So 77 plus 77, and I have x plus x, so that gives me 154 plus 2x equals 360. I subtract 154, so I get 206 equals 2x, and I divide by 2, so I get x equals 103. That means that angle R right here is 103 degrees. Okay, so that's all our notes for today.